Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Hullison with SPS back in the building. Another SPS Edge Show getting ready to go down today. Got my guys with me, my crews in the building. Got Coach Orlando Watkins representing with that St. Cecilia swag on right now, man. They're going to want to play some orders for that, man. Walking history, no doubt. I'm sure you got great stories to tell about that, your family lineage and all the things that are happening. And also, not to be outdone by our guy, Mr. Terry McCord Jr., Coach McCord, if you know what's really going on. It's good to see you guys, man. We got a loaded show. Man, there'll be some smoke in the city, man. So we go see what's going on. We're going to do our job and bring it to the people. We're going to be joined in a few moments by an outstanding young man who's having a great time right now, Chaz Lewless. He just announced today his college selection. He's a junior at King High School under Coach George Ward. His dad is Chris Lewless, a very good friend of mine. And he's going to come on shortly and talk about his college selection for the University of San Diego. He's going out west, Cali, baby. So we're going to have him in a second, man, and we're going to keep that going. Hoop Scoop is saying that the YouTube is not popping. It should be. I'm looking at it right now. You may just want to try it again because I'm looking at it happening right now. So hopefully that'll come on board, Hoop Scoop. We appreciate you. We just got it going. But what we'll do right now, while we're waiting on Chaz to check back in with us, we just talked to him. We can just kind of talk about, high school hoops, man. It's getting ready to jump off. Orlando, I know you know, and the same for you, Coach Terry McCord, with everything that's going on. And SPS has an opportunity to be involved with some great hoop events. First of all, shout out to our guy, Derek Coleman, DC. That's right. That's right. Lottery pick, baby. Number 1 in 1990 with the Ecru suit on. He's getting ready to have the first annual Michigan tip-off at Wayne State Fieldhouse, where the Wayne State Warriors play, as well as the Detroit Drive, the G League team. It's going to be a DC League. It's going to be on the 5th of December. That's going to be coming up really soon. And who's on the lineup? We got Ferndale versus UPrep. Shout out to the coaching staffs of both those schools. Depsa versus Lansing Waverly. Shout out to the coaching staff at both those schools. King versus North Farmington. Shout out to the staff at both of those schools. And, of course, finishing off with Renaissance versus Orchard Lake. And another opportunity a few days later, which hasn't been completely announced yet, is Horatio Williams. Shout out to our guy Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Tip-Off Classic. It's going to be a 2-day event, December 9th and 10th. And what we have right now, we got Renaissance versus Summit, De La Salle versus Michigan Collegiate. Michigan Collegiate really been getting a lot of prop lately, too. Brother Rice versus Warren Lincoln. Shout out to Waddell over there at Warren Lincoln. Got Old Redford Academy. Oh, yeah, I know those guys. That's going to be my guys. I spent some time with a lot of those guys, including Coach Ray Reeves out in Vegas this summer. Shout out to Will Smith and the whole group going up against Oak Park. Oak Park is definitely a program on the come up. West Bloomfield versus Detroit Western, two hard-working programs. Davidson versus River Rouge. Shout out to River Rouge. In the game of the week tomorrow versus King High School in football. We'll talk about that later. Grosse Pointe South and Ferndale. Shout out to Grosse Pointe. And as well as Ferndale. Detroit King again versus Hamtramck. We know those guys. And North Farmington and Depsa. A lot of great basketball going on, man. So I know we're still dealing with playoff. We're just really getting started, guys, as it relates to playoff football. But what's the idea when you can see these promotions for high school basketball coming on? How do you feel, Terry, when you see that?
Man, this is what it's about. I mean, a lot of teams that may or may not match up against each other during conference play, but they get to, see a lot of these big matchups, and these big events. I mean, a lot of exposure, a lot of players playing in arenas that they may not be able to play with, and most importantly, the city coming together, different cities coming together, supporting their teams. I remember playing in a similar event, smaller though, smaller event, but similar. It was just a ton of fun. I mean, playing and a lot of sponsors coming through. It felt like a collegiate game, if I'm honest. But it was really fun. Just another way for, to bring the excitement back to Michigan basketball. I mean, Michigan gets a lot of slack when it comes to like the talent that comes out of here. I mean, we want to look at the East Coast and West Coast, but man, Michigan is putting kids in college and putting kids in the league. And so I think just another way to bring and keep their players and their good players around in their city schools and want to play for these city schools. A good way to do that is having these big matchups so they can put their highlights out and send them to college coaches.
Yeah, that is great. It's going to be a great time. Orlando, what do you think? I know you are, enthralled with the girls' basketball as well, but, it's hoop time. What do you think we get to hearing about that?
It's a fantastic time. It's a great way to open up the season, showcase a lot of talented teams. Um, my hats off to DC and Horatio for putting these things together to put our kids on the big stage, and it's incredible matchups. And you're right, Terry. It's a collegiate atmosphere going on. You're getting everybody out, to look at what's happening, and it's a fantastic time of year. I'm excited. But let me put in my ass. When are we gonna see the big girls tip off classic? Come on, guys.
You know what? Hey, we let Big DC know. He did that over the summer. It was a lot of things happened over the summer with that. I think that's very valid and worthwhile. SPS want to be in the building. At the time, man, I want to just cut to our guest. I got my guy Chaz Lewless. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you for sticking with us, and you coming in and sounding really good on the audio. That must have been your dad's audio the first time that wasn't working right. I like to mess with your dad when I can't get to him.
No, that's actually his computer now. The one that wasn't working was actually my phone. So
yeah, no, you're good. No, it's just a technical thing, but happy to have you here. Really quickly, I want to answer Hoop Scoop's question. You said that was Tyler's spread at North Farmington. Tyler had the Sweet 16 party there at North Farmington. They're going to play in both those events we talked about, as well as this young man right here, the man of the hour, Chris Lewless. You just said, I'm sorry, Chaz, I get you mixed up with your dad. I shouldn't say that because I'm so cool with both of you. Let me say this first of all. First of all, I want to congratulate you on making your college selection. We'll talk about that in a moment. The floor is going to be yours. But as I was talking to the guys before you came on, and to be honest, man, really thinking about being able to have you on, you're a great basketball player, head and shoulders above so many. But Chaz, you're such a nice young man, dude. That's what really motivates me. I mean, you coming on here because you're making your college announcement, and I got a great relationship with your dad. That's no problem, man. But I want to tell the world about my experience when I was just with you a few weeks ago downtown at the formerly Cobo Hall, Huntington. What do we call it now, Orlando? Huntington. What's the new name?
Place.
Huntington Place. And King High School was there. And shout out to the John Shippen golf organization and the great ladies that was leading that. And you're just a great young man, and I think that's going to help you with your game beyond. And I think what these young people have to understand is that you guys are just a brink away from adulthood, where you're no longer completely under the umbrella of your parents. So that you can say your dad's name, your mom's name, we're going to support you. But I think you are starting out to be such a solid young man that you being a great basketball player is only a plus. So with no further ado, you made a great announcement today over at King High School around noon. We saw it on social media. And what we'll do, we'll play it back just like we weren't there. So without any further ado, tell us what you said when you got on the mic, and who did you announce as your college of choice?
Well, first I was just saying, thank yous to everybody who had, helped me along the way. So many people have, been there from, almost like the age of 5 when I first started playing. So, I mean, I'm 17 now. So from 5 to 17, that's a long time. A lot of different people have, come into my life and helped me. So, it was just a lot of thank yous, just because, if it was just me, I wouldn't be in the position to be able to go to school and play basketball like I am now. And then, after that, it was just talking about, my last thank you was actually to my current teammates, because, they've been helping me, and talk about winning a state championship with my guys. At the end of the season, we hope to be the last team standing. And then after that, I announced I was coming to play college basketball at the University of San Diego in the West Coast Conference.
University of San Diego got that Cali love, West Coast, baby. So, hey, now shout out to Coach Steve Lavin, who's going to be your coach. He's had an excellent coaching career. Shout out to the family atmosphere. I read a great article earlier that talked about how they just, wanted to check on your sister and all the great success she's having. Say your sister's name again.
Hannah.
Hannah, that's right, Hannah. All the great success she's having. She's a state champion in soccer, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're just happy for you with that, man. That's a good thing. Well, I can't help but go back to a few picks. Another guy I know gets a lot of props. That's AW Canada, who you spend so much time with him in the gym. Looking at this picture over at Joe Dumars Fieldhouse, how old were you in this picture, Chaz?
I was probably 13 or 14, I say.
Putting in that work. Work. Before I go to the fellas and before I go to whatever questions, we got a lot of comments coming. You got Rodgers Wilson saying, salute, young man. Stay here. We're going to give you your flowers for a second. Just hold tight while we go through these really quick. You got Man saying, Chaz Lewless, what players did you look up to coming up? And who are you, and who are you maybe your top five players you had in high school? So I'll let you sit with that for a second. Keep that question in mind. And how much did the weather play a part? Hey, the weather played a part.
Oh, yeah.
Played a part. But of course, he loves that school. But before we get into those questions, I just want to say, why was it important to you to make your decision now when we all know you could have gone all of this, season into the summer and just really taking advantage of the experience of just having these suitors come after you to come for you and whatnot. You could have made the run with Coach George Ward, pushing for that state championship, potentially hoisted the state championship and see who comes. Why did you just say, look, I'm just going to make this decision right now?
Well, me personally, I just felt like the situation was so good that it didn't really – I didn't really feel the need to wait and try to get maybe like I guess I would say like bigger schools, bigger conferences. I just felt like in my situation with my family and, building a relationship with the coaches and getting to know them, getting to know the school, the program, everything that goes on there, I just felt like it was really just the best fit for me out of anywhere. So once I had really realized that and decided that myself, it just didn't make sense for me to wait. And all waiting would have done is just, distract me more with recruiting, not be as focused. So doing it now was just the perfect thing for me, just because how comfortable I felt with the program and with the school. And now during the season, my focus is 100% on basketball. For basketball, it's 100% on my team, and instead of me and coaches looking at me, and I don't have to worry about who's in the crowd or anything like that. I just focus on playing and winning.
You might be muted, Lindsay.
Yeah.
I can't hear.
I think you put yourself on mute.
I think he's
I can't.
Oh, is that better?
Yeah. I can hear you.
That happened automatically. My computer is talking about restarting. So in the event that something crazy happens, keep it going, and I'll do my best to get back in. But Chaz, what I was saying, I want to put my sports psychology hat on, and I can't get away from the article that you had today and those same comments you made about wanting to just focus. And this is no knock on other players, but I think it's worth noting. So many people want to get their flowers, and you had so many unofficial visits. You've been traveling for the last couple of years, going to different schools, East Coast, West Coast. Why do you think so many people want to make the separate choice that you didn't make and still keep getting all their visits, going places, compared to saying, you know what, I think this is the spot and I'm going to get in right here? Talk about the difference in mindset.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. I just feel, in my experience, I just felt ready. And a lot of times people just don't feel ready, maybe still unsure, or maybe they just, haven't found the right place for them yet. So I don't feel like there's anything wrong with doing either path. But just in my experience, I just felt more ready than maybe other people did at, a similar stage in their process.
Terry, do you have anything for him?
No, I think it's really cool that you were mature enough to really understand that, you want to take the distractions away from the recruiting and focus on the team, because not only it's going to help you, but it's going to help the team. So now you're all locked in on the same goal. Where you're going, now it's just getting that chip. And I think the one thing that, listening to you, I think it's really cool that Lindsay brought up that you're such a great character. I mean, I'm already seeing it on the camera. And so I think that's so key because I think everyone feels like they got to be that junkyard dog or they got to be that mean dude to get to the top. You know, it's like that's not always there. And I like to say a team only has room for one troublemaker. So, hey, being the good guy, being the character guy, man, speaks volumes in any room that you go to. I mean, even me right now, like in the business world, maneuvering around, they want good character guys in there because they know that character is just stuff that rubs off of everything. Just like when you get in trouble, you troublemaker, it rubs off on everything. So just remember that whenever you go to the West Coast, man, continue to be you and, you know, continue to stick to your game and be open to coaching, even though it may be a little weird, but it's always something you can add to your arsenal, man. It's going to be cool, man, watching you all the way from here. Your game's going to be late, so I'm going to try and catch him.
I want to have you multitask. Pooh is one of our great followers. Pooh, you always ask great questions. And you don't have to answer this now. Think about it, because after Orlando posed this question, we're going to come back to the questions that Man asked. But Pooh wanted to know how stressful was the overall process. Did anyone in your family play basketball? I kind of know the answer to that, but I'll let you talk about that. And she's talking about the process you picking the school. Orlando, what do you have for our outstanding young player who's made his college choice known today?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations, young man.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. Just a quick question, because I'm a Detroit public school guy. Coach Ward is my guy. And can you just tell us a little bit something about Coach and how he's helped you in the Detroit public school system? And, you know, how do you feel about that? Because, you know, I want to hear the word about Detroit public schools, because a lot of times Detroit public schools get some bad rap.
And let me add, Orlando,
you are the shining example of the type of quality of student athletes that are coming out of our school system.
Orlando, let me add some more to that great question. And what people probably don't know is that Chaz transferred after 2 years at Catholic Central, which, you know, is a great school, great program, and I'm sure raised some eyebrows. But, you know, I know part of that was King is a few minutes away and they got some great things going on. But Chaz, I'll let you follow up on Orlando's question.
First of all, Coach Ward, I mean, Coach Ward at times can definitely be a tough coach to play for.
This is true.
But
I was putting it mild and nice. Shout out to Ward.
But he's definitely made me a better player. Like, obviously, offensively, I feel like I was able to do a lot, and he's definitely helped me with offense. But his biggest impact on my game has honestly become has rubbed off on me is defense. Just like, not only just on ball defense, but like with gaps and rotations, stuff like that. Like on defense now, like I'm able to see stuff maybe before it happens. Like on offense, like I know where a guy's gonna cut, so I can hit him with a pass before he's even there, and it works out perfect. Just like how I do that, I can now do that on defense, where it's like I can read a guy's eyes better. I can kind of pick up on tendencies, and then just as like team defense, like it's like so much improved that like it's just really helped me out a lot in my game, and just overall just getting better. And then about the Detroit public schools, so obviously I'm still pretty new to it, but I mean I love it. I mean I feel like I fit in great there. It's a great fit. I mean at my school, at least at King, it's just a bunch of kids just like me that are, you know, smart and talented, and especially on my team, you know, just student athletes. We're all just really about our business, and
it's co-ed too. What about that part?
I try not to pay too much attention to that. Boys school, but
good answer.
Obviously, I do notice there are females there, but you know, I really just try to, you know, focus on what I need to do first. You know,
man, that smile ain't went away yet.
Yeah, earlier I was talking about limiting distractions for like college recruiting, so I guess it goes as part of distractions too that I'm trying to eliminate.
No, you're doing good.
Let me add one more.
Please, Orlando, please go ahead.
And real quick, yeah, man, we talked about your basketball, but let's hear what's really important. What are you planning on majoring in?
Well, the University of San Diego has like a really good business school, and their business school has a really good reputation. And so when I went there on my visit, they just built a new building that was like open. It just opened like at the end of the summer. So I'm looking at that. There are things that I want to do for a while, like marketing, which kind of falls under business. So I think that would be some that I'm really interested in and will want to do as like a profession one day.
I love that. We're going to go to two questions while we have you, and I'm just going to give you a chance to let that brain do some multitasking. The question that we're going to come back to, she said, "Oh my God, this is Lania." She said, "Oh my God, he got a baby face, LOL." But for someone like me that don't know, describe your style and game. Anyone in NBA, your game is sort of like. So we'll get to that in a second. And she has another one. She says, "And how do you deal with the females, ladies? Let's be real. Love basketball players. So how do you stay focused? They always leave the girls alone, but you are a man." Okay, wow, that's a hot and heavy one. So let's go back to Man. Ooh, boy, got you on the hot seat out here, man. You're doing great. You're going to be fine. Man's first question was, Chaz Lewis, what player do you look up to coming up? And how are you maybe, and who are maybe your top 5 players you had to guard in high school and AAU? Good luck. All right, what do you think about that one?
Well, like I say, like an NBA player I looked up to the most is definitely Damian Lillard, just because that was my like I try to emulate him some, like especially when I was a little bit younger, like that was just my favorite player to watch. And then I also watched a lot of college basketball, so one of my favorite guys was Miles Powell, who played at Seton Hall a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a
He
scorer.
could just score whenever he wanted to.
Yeah.
So definitely those guys I say the
He
most.
made it to the league too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then okay, so to go back to Linnea's question, talk about just being big man on campus, even though you're transitioning to a new school, you got the popularity. And let's just talk about that part where, basketball players, athletes get a lot of attention and you can be as politically correct as you need to be. And I know your dad's probably giving you cue cards on the other side of the camera. Shout out to my guy, Chris. But, how do you manage that? And put it this way. Say it in a way for any younger person coming up that has the potential you have and they need some insight on to handle the notoriety and the popularity that they get.
Well, definitely like it's not even just females. It's just like people know who I am, and especially after today. But like they had seen that I had offers and stuff like that. So it's people that's really always, trying to.
Pooh, he too young for you. Talking about do you go on dates? Hold on, Pooh. Chill out. Gee, you see how I be out here? But go ahead. I had to throw that out there.
It was just, like people, try to be your friend, not like in a bad way, but they know you, they say what's up to you. You might not really know who they are, but they say, they know you. So you obviously, I kind of figured out there's always kind of some type of eyes on you, almost wherever you go, but especially in school when you kind of have a name, like people don't know you super well, but they know of you. So, I mean, I kind of always try to be aware of that, that I'm kind of always being watched a little bit. So I try to, keep that in the back of my head at all times. So, I mean, yeah, I really just chill with my friends like at lunch, and I mean in the hallways I have my headphones on all the time, just listening to music. So I'm just going to class, chilling in there. So yeah, I just kind of do what any other regular high schooler would do. I don't see myself as like super special in any type of way.
Real humble with it. Pooh wanted to make it clear. Said, "Now I'm speaking in general. No R. Kelly here. Don't play." Pooh, we have a good time with it because Pooh gonna find something to talk to me about. Well, look, man, you're doing a great job. I'm so happy for you. Like I said, I emphasized the part about the character. We didn't really get a chance to talk about just your game. You got an outstanding game. I just remember watching you and talking to your dad, and even seeing your highlight reel that went from 5 years old to now. You have a floor general type persona. And it's not necessarily a vocal persona, but it seems like when you got the ball, it's kind of like, this is what's going to happen out here. Is it fair to say that's a little bit of a way to describe how your game is?
Yeah, I definitely see myself as a person that likes to get everybody involved, just like a true point guard. Obviously, a lot of people know I can shoot the ball really well, but I feel like the best part of my game is just, between my ears, like my IQ and able to set guys up. And also just being a leader, just getting the whole team into the game. So yeah.
Great question from Dion's Who page. Dion, you know we appreciate your support. Who's the best player you played against?
Well, not many people know this, but when I was 5, I was born in Lansing, and then I moved out to Seattle, Washington. So like I used to go in like rec leagues all the time, stuff like that when I was in Seattle first starting out. And so my dad used to coach like an older team, which was like third grade, and I was like in first grade. And my dad had Paulo Banchero on his team. He was from Seattle.
Wow.
So I used to I was kind of on the team. Like they didn't let me play because I was so young. Unless it was like, if we were up like 20, they'd let me like get in there. But I just be on the bench, just like they just give me a jersey. So I mean, Paulo, and he was literally the big man on campus anywhere he went from like first or second grade. We all knew who he was.
Wow. I mean, that's a name drop right there, you know, because he's
For real.
dominating right now. I'm just curious, thinking back, you said he was big man on campus, but was this game almost just phenomenal to you then as compared to his peers and everything when you looked at it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he was always huge just because I didn't really grow till late, so I was always small. He was always huge.
Uh-huh.
He was always super skilled. Like I don't remember a time where he couldn't dribble or didn't have a jump shot. So like I went to school with his little brother. I mean, he was older than me, so I went to middle school with his little brother. Yeah, there were a bunch of guys down there. It was just crazy, but yeah, I was actually at his first NBA game. I went to the Pistons game versus the Magic.
Oh man, I mean,
And he
you
had
know, and that got to
27,
be a
so
good feeling when you see guys making it. You've been part of it. Chaz, we're not going to keep you too much longer, man. You've done a great job, but let me just add this part too. You know, these questions that were coming from our followers and people follow, these are some really good questions, and some could argue some tough questions. I think you managed it well, and I think what your peers have to realize that, you know, communication skills are important. You did a really good job, and I'm just saying this to you publicly. There's no need for me to have to keep it aside. You did a really good job, and I think being very authentic, giving us some good feedback and some insight, but also still representing very well for yourself, your family, your schools, referring to your current school and your future school. And let's just talk about the future brand. With that being said, you got anything you want to wrap up with us before we let you get out of here?
Not really. Just shout out to my family, my mom, my dad, my sister. Shout out University of San Diego, and yeah, thank you guys for having me.
No, man, we sure this won't be the last time. And we'll start a tradition. Since we had you come on, we'll have to make sure we get you after the first season.
Mhm.
You know, we out there in Cali. Hey, we might have to come see you. You know, everybody want to come see you in Cali, don't they, right? Hey, so proud of you. I'm not surprised it's your success. It's bigger than basketball. So with that being said, man, we'll see you soon. We'll definitely see you on the 5th. At the tip-off, and then we'll see you after that for the Rachel Williams event. Tell your dad nothing but love. We got to get up, so we miss getting out there playing golf, and that's an inside joke. You know that. I know you probably laughing. Then we'll catch up some more. So with that, man, appreciate you. All the best, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, yeah, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. That's what we're dealing with. My mom comes on and said Detroit Public School. Yeah. He really shocked them all, Orlando, when he made that move because, you know, you talk about you know, a private school that you're paying for and you're getting all these looks, and you know how many of our young people in Terry, you know, even relates to Lansing Catholic Central, who want to be in those spaces, and his dad and his family making a decision like, no, we go make another move, so we want to wish him the best. So that was good, guys. So that was a great opportunity to talk about the future. But Orlando, as you know, we talk, man. This next topic that's coming up, we debated, and you know, I didn't want to get caught up in just the vitriol that's going on just because. But when what's going on with Kanye West, now known as West, starts spilling over into our world, talking about sports, basketball, and football in particular, you know, got Jaylen Brown right there, who was up until about 48 hours ago, was a part of the Donda School and part of the Donda Sports Group, as well as Aaron Donaldson. They both moved back. I'm going to read their statements, guys. We can go from there. This is the official statement from Jaylen Brown. In the past 24 hours, I've been able to reflect and better understand how my previous statements lack clarity in expressing my stance against recent insensitive public remarks and actions. For that, I apologize. And in this, I seek to be as clear as possible. I have always and will always continue to stand strongly against anti-Semitism, hate speech, misrepresentation, and oppressive rhetoric of any kind. In light of that, after sharing in a conversation, I now recognize that there are times when my voice and my position can't coexist in spaces that don't correspond with my stance or my values. For that reason, I am terminating my association with Donda Sports. I do seek to continue providing mentorship, love, and support to the incredible children, faculty, and young athletes with whom I've been grateful to form bonds and relationships with and during my time at Donda Academy. I'm going to switch to the next statement by Aaron and Erica Donald. Our family has made the decision to part ways with Donda Sports. The recent comments and displays of hate and anti-Semitism are the exact opposite of how we choose to live our lives and raise our children. We find them to be irresponsible and go against everything we believe as a family. As parents and members of society, we felt responsibility to send a clear message that hateful words and actions have consequences and that we must do better as human beings. We do not feel our beliefs, voices, and actions belong anywhere near spaces that misrepresent and oppresses people of any background, ethnicity, or race. We've had the pleasure of working with many incredible people along the way and hope to continue to use our platform to uplift and support our families, children, and communities through positive outreach. Aaron and Erica Donald. So let me just say this, guys, before we get into everything that's going on. Sorry, 1 second. Let me get this down. Here's the thing. I'll make my general statements and I'll leave it to you guys and the rest. As we said, we really debated about whether we were going to have this conversation, but it spilled over into our world. Ironically, I was in a Lyft in a ride share today, and I posed just a general question to the driver. I said, hey, man, I got a controversial question for you. He said, what? I said, how do you feel about Kanye? Because the reality is that in Orlando, we talked about it, he's polarizing. He is an extreme. He is like pro-life, pro-choice. There is no in-between. You feel a certain way. And he said he needs some help. I said, okay. But he said something, man, that cracked my head, dude. He said, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, well, ever since his mother passed, he's been needing help. He said, no, Kanye been needing help since his car accident. I said, oh, I forgot the car accident through the wire. What really kind of got him the notoriety. He went from being a producer to rapper. So he said, I said, man, how'd you even say that? He said, I'm from Chicago. So the Lyft driver was like, look, man, we've been watching this for a minute. So I am not trying to clear up anything one way or the other. I'm just trying to have a platform to have this discussion. But I think it's something to be said about all the things that he's gone through and where he is right now. I don't know what else to say, man. Kanye is a phenomenon. People had their opinions about it. Shout out to my mom. She said, good decision on stepping away. Absolutely necessary. Eric Johnson says, hell, being in that Kardashian family drive you crazy too. That's another factor.
A victim of the Kardashian curse.
Hey, the Kardashian curse, they get you big. But I'll just leave it at this, and I'll defer to you, Orlando, and get you, Terry. I'll just say, who would have thought that a year ago or however many years ago when Kanye ran for president, we would have thought that would have been the most extreme behavior we would have seen from him. And if you notice, he always reload. Because prior to that, when Donald Trump was elected, when he showed up with Donald Trump, and unlike Steve Harvey, who walked it way back, we were like, wow, but Kanye keep coming at you, man. So now you got these things where people are parting ways from him. They're talking about his billionaire status and it's changing. And it's really kind of like the Will Smith slap all over again. But it's what we got to deal with and talk about. Orlando, you made an excellent point, and I'll stand on that on this platform. You said nobody cared when he said slavery was a choice. But corporate America has this fire drill playbook that they go to when it comes to cancel culture. And it's like, oh, who's next out to be canceled? Go through the playbook. So with that being said, Patricia, mom said, right, Orlando, the K curse. So with that being said, Orlando, what's your thoughts on what's happening with Kanye West and the fact that we have to address it on our platform because his impact not only on pop culture also impacts sports, and it's a valid conversation to have.
We're watching a disaster as it happens. This is absolutely what they're doing to him right now is really cancel culture on steroids. They're hitting him from all angles. It's a shame to see such a talented young man, take the route that he's taken. I mean, right now, he the only support and massive support that he's getting right now is from white supremacists.
Not a good company.
It's absolutely unreal. And I did send you an article earlier where he has this incredible fascination with Hitler, and that he wanted to call one of his albums Hitler, and he has some adoration about the man. It's just from the Adidas deal to him going to Skechers, which is a Jewish-owned corporation.
Maybe he didn't do his research. He ran up on him real quick.
Ran up on him and didn't even realize. So it's a shame. And really speaking from the sports end of it, you have such high-profile athletes that are willing to take the time to mentor and to help the students at his academy, and now they have to back away because of comments, ridiculous comments that you've made. I'm glad to see that Jaylen Brown has made the decision, to officially cut ties with the academy, but to still help those individuals that he's created relationships with over his time when dealing with Donda Academy. But right now, I always say that as a people, as African American people, we are a very, very forgiving race of people.
Oh, we're always the house to come back to.
Right, but right now, he's crossed that line, but I don't think he can ever come back in that house.
It's gonna be tough. Terry, you've been watching everything that's going on. You may have a different perspective, just from a youth standpoint, what Yeezy means to a younger generation. And not saying it's just based on that, but with all this has been going on, what's been your take on everything happening with this?
Well, I think a lot of times, and no matter who it's been, I feel like we look at what they've done, we look at their talent. But a lot of times, that gets in the way of the real issue. And I'm glad that you brought up that the Lyft driver said before, during the car accident is when he needed help. I would argue that it was before that, because
you can argue that could have been a traumatic brain injury. So
right.
There's going to be some issues.
Yeah. But even for him, though, in his documentary where he speaks for himself, Kanye put a lot of his success and what he felt success was like in money, fame, his own culture. That's what success was to him. And so I feel like Kanye has reached the point where he's untouchable. Like, no one can really reach out to him. No one can talk to him. Like, even though whenever he was growing to get the fame, get the money, everyone wants to work with you, he was losing some of his inner circles. Like Cootie, the guy that was recording the whole documentary. Like, that was his boy. Was there when his mom passed. Like, that was his guy. And to lose him, and then to continue to spiral, it's just like Kanye has some thoughts, good and bad. But the bad, man, it's just like, to me, to see it canceled now, it's like when he said slavery was a choice back in 2018, I'm just thinking I was almost like to this level then, because I'm like, dude, there's no way you actually believe this. Like, and you're justifying it. It's not like, oh, man, I was just playing. No, you actually sat there and justified it. Like, wow. And it just shows, man, it's like, for me as a black person watching this, I'm like, why is he getting canceled and all this for this comment, but not the comments before? Were they not deemed to be as evenly severe? So that's where I'm like, okay. And it's something we've talked about, even with the whole, like, we were talking about, like, the Dave Chappelle thing. It's like, okay, we can talk about this group, but we can't talk about that group. And granted, both of what he said were bad. Like, terrible things were said. Like, dude should be on this level for both comments, 100%. So I'm not saying like one is worse, one is no. Oppression and hateful comments equal the same amount, no matter what. Asian hate all equal the same amount. But I don't know why corporate America and in the world we don't, like, we say it's the same, but we don't necessarily act as if it's the same. And so I'm just glad that it's reached a point where now we want to do something. But for me, looking back and I'm looking at the totality of the situation, I'm like, what did he say that, like, I'm watching out, like, Adidas dropped him, Balenciaga dropped him. I'm like, what did he say? And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's what he said. I'm like, nah, they getting them. It's like, and to me, it's like Kanye arguably should have known better. I think he should have known better. He's been warned. I mean, if you say slavery was a choice, somebody had to tell you, dude, shut up. You don't, like, no, that's not okay. You know, and rumors are out that that's not what he really meant and things like that. But it's like, no, it's like we need to understand that you're still a black man. You're in this industry. Like all this money and all this success, man, that doesn't mean who you are. That doesn't define you. And so I feel like, and it was an interview. I forgot the white guy's name he was talking to, but Kanye was like, do I make more money than you? And he was like, yeah. He's like, am I worth more than you? Like he just kept going on like I'm worth more than you. And he's like, then I should be giving you advice. Don't give me advice. And I'm like, dude, that's where like I don't know if there's someone that can hold him accountable because not even his close friends were having trouble with it. We obviously can't. So it's like, is he in this realm right now where like nothing can talk to him besides him losing his money, losing his contracts, and losing all these investments he has? He still has the assets, but it's the investments. I think he'll start to feel it because he based his definition of himself. He defines himself by these things that he's getting and creating. And that's a very dangerous area to be in, especially when these things are being taken away from you. He's going to have to look in the mirror at a certain point. And for a black creator, I feel for him because it's like, dude, you have the power to do so many great things, but the enemy continues to challenge you and pervert these thoughts and these different things that you have. So it's a very dangerous area to be black and everyone see you on top. It's a dangerous area, and I just feel for him.
To your dad's point, Terry McCord, he says, lesson to all black folks out here, no matter how big you get, they can take it away quickly. I think Orlando and I, just from an age standpoint, we can relate to, there's always like this invisible curtain, you know, that's there. And when you start talking about people, particularly people of Jewish descent, it's almost like gang related. Don't speak my name. Keep my name out your mouth, because when you start talking about that and putting that out there, you know, people's purse strings start getting cut. And my understanding is that the anti-Semitism is rooted in saying that the Jewish community are pretty much the merchants and the bankers and really controlling the international monetary system. And you can look at the Rothschilds. I mean, it's a whole lot of information that's out there. But society, unlike platforms that we have, unless YouTube or StreamYard or whoever want to say, Lindsay, you want to shut you down. When you talk about mainstream media, you cannot get those messages out through mainstream media. However, where we are in 2022 is that you have all these different type of independent platforms that allow messages and communication to start to happen, i.e., you know, Drink Champs, if you will, and all these other places that he has made trips to. Patricia England said, truth, glad you said it. Well, guys, with that, I think it was just,
real quick, Lindsay.
Absolutely.
The interesting thing about it, and when you say that, the independent podcasts and media, things of that nature, if you really look at it, and I've read this several times, and the one thing that really stuck out with me is you have an individual that's going on social media saying these things. What folks don't realize, well, they realize now that he has more followers than there are Jewish people.
Wow. Say that again, Orlando.
He has more followers in social media than there are Jewish people. So the whole thing is, I don't know if in his mind he isn't understanding. When he opens up his mouth and says anything, it is reaching so many people, which makes it extremely powerful, whatever message he puts out.
And it has an impact on others. For example, they're talking about the Donda kids being booed out of a tournament, you know, and that's a tough one, because you can say, well, you affiliated with him, it's going to be a distraction to the tournament, but at the end of the day, kids are being impacted by it. And there's another image I want to show too, and people can argue that this is just a casual piece, but look at Adidas stock dropping from him moving away. Somebody argued that, you know, Beyonce may come and do like a Ivy Park, you know, rendition during her concert series, and the stock could go back up, it'll fluctuate, but he definitely has an impact, and that's the reason why we're here talking. So with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys expressing yourself. I appreciate that we do have a platform that we can articulate ourselves, and it's scary that there's certain topics in America that we're scared to speak of, but at the end of the day, man, the only way we're going to get to where we got to go, we have educated intellectual conversations about these things. Terry McCord says, what's going to happen to Donovan Edwards after his comments? I don't know about Donovan Edwards' comment.
Yeah.
Donovan Edwards at Michigan.
Yeah, I could touch on it a little bit. So Donovan Edwards was seen
West Bloomfield
retweet.
High School. Now he's at University of Michigan.
Yeah, he was seen retweeting some comments that Kanye had. He retweeted them on his Twitter, and so many fans, because there are many Jewish fans of Michigan and many Jewish people that go to Michigan, and so they're saying, "Will Harbaugh punish him? Like, what's he gonna do?"
How they want to cancel Donovan?
They don't want to cancel him, but he did release a statement very quick to shoot it down ASAP. So I don't know if it's canceled, but he did say that, it was definitely a mistake on his part. He has to be more sensitive about it. But yeah, they got him quick. He retweeted it. They're like, nope.
Well, my thing is, here's what I stand for. And Terry, you did a great job touching on earlier. Let's be like this across the board if we're going to be like that. And to Orlando's point early on, when he said slavery was a choice, the corporate purse strings didn't dry up then.
Adidas made a statement saying that they're standing by him.
Yeah. And it was said that he was starting a conversation. Since when is slavery a conversation? Why are some things deemed a conversation and others aren't? So it's like, come on, like we gotta be able to have this be across the board, because that's not a conversation.
We see it for what it is. So with that, guys, we have done our job in talking about a popular media issue that impacts us. But right on time, Hoop Scoop, you right on time, man. Thoughts on Klay Thompson, Devin Booker? Why don't the NBA let players have good trash talking? Them light-skinned boys wasn't gonna hurt each other, but Klay looked like he might fight. LOL. But he told Book, I got 4 of these MFs, but let players talk. That's the next segment we want to talk about, and I'm talking about the young cats versus the vets, Book versus Klay, and I'm gonna even take it back to something that I was still kind of bothered with a while ago. Yeah, man. This go back to something else, man, with your guy. I'm not saying yours, but Ja Morant. I would have cooked Michael Jordan too. I'm never going on and say nobody can beat me one-on-one. Here's my thing, man. I appreciate the young upstarts and feeling confident, but maybe it's social media, Orlando. Maybe it's a different day. It's such false bravado. I want to like Ja Morant. Actually, I shouldn't say I want to like. I do like Ja Morant, but I'm bothered by a lot of this because check it out. Let's go to Ja, then we go back to Book. He made those comments when this season opened. Him and his team got popped by a 40 ball, 40 plus by the Dallas Mavericks. And I just thought about something. Guess what? Who's a Jordan brand member? Luka. So you got the Jordan right there. So if you couldn't give it to Luka, how you talking about you would have cooked MJ? Come on, man. Show some respect. That's the thing. I mean, we just complimented Chaz Lewless for being such a respectful young man. And he can get away with that trash talk. Now, going back to Book and Devin, what did Kenny say? To put Morant in the same tenses as a GOAT, Michael Jordan is crazy. Ja hasn't done anything yet. Kenny, great point. And the last point was right on. He hasn't done anything yet. So now going to Book and Klay. It's so funny, and I think it's just a generational thing. Not that Klay is so much older than Book, but Booker kept saying, yeah, Klay kept talking about the rings. He kept talking about the rings. He kept talking about 4 rings. Dog, that's all you got to say. That's like saying, oh, I dunked on you, and all you keep saying is how I dunked on you. You felt, yeah, that was it. What's going on? You represent St. Cecilia right now, Orlando. Old school values, old school hoops, and here we go having this conversation. What's your take on Book and Klay, Ja and MJ?
Well, look here. Since you mentioned St. Cecilia, there's plenty of hot summer day. I'm sitting in the stand sweating, and it wouldn't be the same without the trash talk.
Oh man, you gotta have that.
You gotta have it. It's a part of the game. It's part of the experience. Just as long as it doesn't get out of hand. So that is a part of that is part of sport, not just basketball. Part of sport. Yeah,
and it's even better when you got some hardware to say, "Look, man, I got this," and it just clearly shows the difference. Terry, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think we have an issue with the trash. I just got the issue with. I feel that these guys are playing themselves. Even when it went back to seasons ago when Devin Booker came into the league and there was like a pickup run and they were double teaming him. And he kept saying, y'all double teaming in the pickup? Like, dude, where you coming from? You got to get ready for the competition. Let's go come. So we'll see what's going on with that. You got anything else you want to add to that, Terry?
I was gonna say, man, the Suns and Warriors is they're like a rivalry within themselves. I mean, they always play each other tough. Every game, there's always some trash talking, and those games. That's why I watched that one, because it's like that one is something always gonna go down. And Klay, I've never seen in a while when Klay got that animated about something. Klay usually doesn't go and need to be held back. Like even Curry had to pull and yank Klay a little bit. So it's like, man, I haven't seen. So I wonder if Book must have said something and caught Klay on the wrong night. But I mean, Book was balling.
But you got to also understand too. Klay is not his self. He's not the Klay.
No, he's not the same.
Seasons ago.
No.
Those steps. He's off a couple steps, and it's probably really tough. Shout out to Coach Demetrius, where he said, "Man, I miss the Saint. I know you do, brother." Kenny said, "Ain't no rivalry if you don't play in the finals." I like that. But you did say mini rivalry. You did say mini rivalry.
I mean, to me, a rivalry, man, it's the players. So like Book and Luka. I mean, Embiid and Jokic. Like there are players that get up for matchups, just like how Colin Sexton got up when he played Trae Young. Like these are matchups that whether it's high school ball, college ball, your name is in the conversation with this guy. Like Trae Young and Luka will always be a rivalry because they both got traded on draft night. Like that stuff they know, and forever they will be compared with each other. Is Luka? Did Luka make the right? Did the Hawks make the right move? Letting Luka go? Like that stuff will always be there. So
there's a connection there. You're saying?
Yeah, it's a different motive to the game. Like it's like solidifying myself as a ball player in this game. You know, just like how Chris Paul tries to go extra hard at Curry because he sees himself as being the best point guard in the league, which you know he's not. But you can't tell Chris Paul that. So it's just it's a rivalry to me because as a player myself, there are certain players that you always compare yourself to in a healthy way. And it leads to competition. You always see yourself, your name, like how D Wade did Manu Ginobili in the Olympics in the documentary.
Yeah,
like,
very good.
So
he gonna go after him like that. Ron Charles, we appreciate you, brother. He says Warriors not worried about the Suns. That win was more important for the Suns than the Warriors. Yeah. They not, and it's bad when you got people chipping at your heels and it comes out like that. We're doing good, guys. I want to switch us up. I want to talk about a little bit of high school football. It's playoff time, man. We're talking about the road to Ford Field. We got those River Rouge Panthers. It's a Panther party going up against defending state champion, the King Crusaders. That's going down tomorrow at 6 p.m. Over at the new King High School football field. They got a new field, new turf down. Everything is new, man. Looking real good over there. I can't wait to get down there. Real quick, I got to run it back really quick. Ron said, "Young fella is a rivalry for the Suns, not the Warriors." And Terry McCord says, "So Klay and Booker is pretty boy rivalry." Right. Where the beer is at? It don't help none. The brothers got to go out and get a little bit of sun to make it a little bit better. But we got some things going on with high school football, man. And there's been not necessarily a controversy, but there's been a concern. As soon as I posted this early in the week, to my knowledge, I did not know that this is like the third season in a row that these guys have drawn each other for the first round matchup. Now, these are two powerhouses who both have the ability to win state championships. As Ivy, they both won state championships within a 4-year window. And it was made to my attention that, hey, why are all the inner city schools or these schools matched up early? Because also a matchup was Cass and West Bloomfield. Now, geographically, they were not the closest schools. So they had these powerhouse things, and people say, hey, that's not cool. But I got a different view on that. And it's not to be cold, but it's like you can be upset about these teams playing early, but at the end of the day, it's not like both these teams can win a state championship. You either go play now, and one of you guys go get knocked out, or you will make it further beyond and somebody go get knocked out. So whether you play now or not, now, the rationale behind it, the justification, if you can't give a valid justification, can't be one rule for one group, another for that, that's not good. But at the end of the day, you know, if you really want to challenge MHHSA on something, talk about travel rules. You know, talk about traveling out of state. Talk about travel beyond, you know, just connected to those states. But with that being said, looks to be a good game. It's going to be a lot of good games going on. As well as SBS being in the building. Orlando, what you got?
Just to speak on that, and
please,
you know, MHSAA has a lot of work to do, and they tried to kind of adjust and kind of correct the things in the past, and they've done it on the basketball side with a seeding system,
right?
That's fair and equitable.
And that's what they're saying for the 32 teams that are playing in the playoffs. They should seed those too.
Seed them,
and then they should be, because in years past, and I Lindsay, you know, we'd go to state districts, and Detroit public schools would be knocking themselves off.
Cannibalism.
I mean, it just wasn't fair, and I have to give credit where credit is due, and very seldom will I say this, but MHSAA, and I had a chance to sit in a few of those meetings prior to the seating, before they put it in place, and that for me, that's the only fair way to do it.
Yeah,
because in the past, it was really, they were pitting each urban community against each other to whittle us down for the rest of the state to have a shot.
Yeah, and that's tough, man. That's unfortunate, and I think that's going to have to be a discussion that's going to be had where seating is going to be looked at as a more of a rational response. Terry, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like as far as, it just puts a different kind of importance with the regular season. I mean, the NFL is even having issues with that, where the division winners get an automatic playoff spot and get an automatic home game. So it's like, I'm not a big fan where people are in even with the new point value system where teams with 3 wins are in the playoffs. I mean, it just shows where it's like, so what, you blow a team out 80-0 and then you only win like 3 games, you can still get in the playoffs? Like, what if you played a really bad team? So I think like strength of schedule and all that stuff needs to be put in play, but definitely the seeding, because there's a real chance that River Rouge and King should be on opposite sides of the bracket and then meet up maybe in the regionals or the championship. So it's like, it sucks because these are matchups that are meant to be played on a bigger stage. But like you said, they're going to end up having to play each other. But I think it just shows, man, it's like, okay, so we both go, 7-2. And then we play first round? Like, since when does that ever happen? So it's like, so that means the first seed Packers last year should have played, I think the Tampa Bay was second seed. They should play round 1 because they're going to play each other anyway. No, if you do well in the regular season, you should be catered to doing well in the playoffs. Favorable matchup. I mean, it's a part of earning your playoff spot.
Well, it's definitely going to be an ongoing conversation throughout these playoffs, and we're going to use our platform to keep that conversation going. We're going to do a little graduation. We're going to graduate from high school football and go on to collegiate football. I know Terry is salivating, but hey, man, great news down in Jackson. College game day is in the building. College game day will be at Jackson State versus Southern on Saturday. It's going to be huge. That's going to be a big football day, of course, with Michigan State going on as well. I just want to continue to talk about the Deion effect, man. And if you say he ain't swag, this is it. I don't know if you guys seen a recent commercial where Washington State, and I didn't know this story, had been trying to have college game there for 14 years.
Yeah,
they've been trying to get college game day, and they finally got it. But here is Coach Prime, and it has to be. And I thought it was really cool, man, when Desmond Howard came in the day prior to, was on campus, met with the team, and we know what that's all about. He was there for business, but that's that personal connection. That's like, Terry, you go on and getting something, and I get to come visit, or Orlando doing this thing and visit. It's personal. You want to do that. But, Orlando, college game day at Jackson State. If I would have said this to you 5 years ago, like, hey, man, I can see college game day going to Jackson State. You looked at me like I got 3 eyeballs or something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is, hey, progress. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to have those teams highlighted, and it's about time. It is about time.
Do you think, Orlando, that at ESPN they were scrambling saying, man, we about to be left out in the cold, we're gonna be on the wrong side of history? Like, what kind of mindset do you think they had when they say we got to go there? Were they looking at the numbers? They're looking at 60 Minutes going there? They're hearing everybody like the homecoming? Like, what do you think went into their mind?
I think it's a combination of everything. With these networks right now, it's all about numbers and statistics and viewership. And right now, Coach Prime has brought that attention. He brought that viewership. Somebody in the office sat down and said, hey, if we put him college game day front and center, our viewership is going to go up tremendously.
The numbers.
And then they could probably tell you that right down to the viewer.
Yeah. The numbers is probably.
And how much money they're going to make. So,
I
don't want the viewers or anything to think that it was just a kind-hearted gesture.
Thank you. I like that.
HBCU, up there. it's all about the dollars and cents. That's what it's all about.
And then how, like to your point, how are they going to capture that market? And it'd be interesting to know what spinoff or what other things will come from them coming down there doing that. What do you think about College Game Day being at Jackson State?
I'm excited because I mean this is something that's going to be nothing like we've seen before. I'm expecting like a band appearance, some dancing.
Yes.
I'm expecting the whole HBCU experience, and a lot of these folks that watch Game Day probably have no idea what that's like. And so I'm excited for that they'll be able to experience that a little bit. I mean, obviously we know there's nothing like going to a game. I remember when I went to the Alabama A&M game versus Morehouse at the Pro Football Hall of Fame game where the two HBCUs play there. That game was packed. It was live. I mean, granted, it's not at any of their campuses, but it felt like the HBCU took over.
The culture travels. The culture travels.
They took over the building. I mean, it was like as if I was down there. So, I mean, it was hot weather. Like, I mean, it's something that we've never seen before. But to go back to your question, as far as the whether or not, did they do it because they felt like they had to? Or I think Deion's team this year is really good. So it helps when they're really good to kind of make that appearance. They got Travis Hunter, one of the best players coming into college ball, from high school last year. And I also, too, and I got to be honest, ESPN, as far as the slate of games being played, there's not really a big game. I mean, Ohio State, Penn State, sure, but Fox has that. So Fox is already going to the big noon for that game. So ESPN isn't really left. There's not really a big SEC game. I mean, you got Tennessee and Kentucky, but like Kentucky's kind of falling off over the course of the week. So they're not as good as we would have thought for them to be. So you think of a business aspect, what a great opportunity. No distractions. You're not messing with all this political stuff where, you're going to go there over Alabama and so-and-so or Georgia and Tennessee. So great opportunity, but this is going to prove why they need to look for these games more often because it's going to be a unique experience. Ratings are going to be off the chain. I think it's going to be a true different approach to game day. I mean, it's going to be a bunch of guest appearances. I just want to know who's going to be the celebrity guest picker because I'm like, who do you bring to an HBCU game day? I'm like, who? And I'm like, it can't be Deion. And I'm just like, I'm excited to see who they end up
picking. That's going to look forward to. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the precursor to an ESPN HBCU where, you got ESPN3 or ESPN Deportes, being able to tap into the market and do that. That's something
they used to, but it used to be on like days where like there's not much like competing with NFL games and competing with other sports playing. And so that's the same thing with WNBA. It's like, I remember I heard LeBron talk about it on The Shop where he was like, man, the first game one of the WNBA finals was played on week 1, day 1, Rams versus Bills. It's like, come on.
They missed that.
You got to. Hopefully this be able to get them on slots and games where like, I'm not trying to see Louisville versus Boston College at 3:30. Put an HBCU game on. Like put Jackson State on main TV.
But here's the thing, though. It's kind of like consistent with the conversation we had just in the past few segments about Kanye. We're talking about different cultures and what they see. The decision makers at ESPN don't necessarily look like the three of us. So they have to almost become familiar, become comfortable, and see a reason why they were supporting. And we can sit and say all day long, hey, man, go for it. It's going to be huge. But that's what we're dealing with when we're dealing with mainstream media and these different cultures and them needing those numbers to feel confident. Because I know a lot of times, my experience in corporate America, man, Orlando, you know how it is. People don't want to make no move or decision unless they're confident they're going to have full support that it's going to be like that compared to somebody saying, hey, man, let's just go for it.
And I agree with you, Lindsay. I think this may open the door for them to do that other channel now, or even let's ESPN Plus. I mean, I can open up my ESPN Plus app and watch anything really. I can see, at this point, I could probably find Lawrence Tech playing next time they play. So it's open. It opens the doors.
Yeah, and it's all about those sponsors watching and saying, can we get a return on investment here? Terry, we're going to stay with you, man, on the college update. I know you want to talk about the Penn State and Ohio State, and we got to talk about this, man. I don't know who got the better memes going for the Michigan State game. So here's the Michigan people talking about what? They about to smoke Michigan State, right? And, of course, we see this all the time, assuming a position. But this one right here, man, this kind of dirty, man. This is kind of like low down, man. They're going to say, how men who yell go boo like to be kissed. Oh, that's bad, dude. Hey, that is disrespectful right there, man. That'll make me want to fight. So with that being said, Terry, why don't you help us out with a little college update? You know, of course, we got your beloved Buckeyes playing Penn State. And, of course, we got, you know, one of the biggest rivalries ever, the Michigan State-Michigan game going on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of implications for the Big Ten East, as always, when these four teams play each other. Not necessarily all four of them, but the big two. I mean, Michigan Harbaugh's trying to get that first win over Tucker. Let's see, third time's the charm. He's playing at home, night game. I think, you know, Michigan State coming in, they have a lot of concerns, but their concerns aren't necessarily what Michigan likes to do very well. They don't do very well, I should say. Like throwing the ball. Michigan State pass defense is not good. Let's just say they're not good. But running the ball, stopping the run, Michigan State is a lot better at. I would say they're about just above average at doing that. And they got Henderson back. I was there for the homecoming game. He looked really well in person, moving. He has that big brace on, but it doesn't look like it's limiting his mobility as he making tackles, defending the pass. So having him on the back end, and my dad brought up a very good point. We were watching the different games. Henderson and Snow were their main signal callers. So they're in the back end making a lot of these decisions for the Spartan defense on the front end, letting them know, talking, that like they're key communicators on defense. So you lose both of them. I mean, it's really hard. You don't know much to what to expect. So even getting one of those guys back on the field, even if it's at 70%, you get the IQ with that. I mean, that's going to be 100%. Oh, he's been in film room. He's been there in prep, even though he's rehabbing it, the weeks prior, but he's still there 100% mentally. So having him back will definitely help. But I think Michigan might be a little bit too much at home. I have them winning, but I will be cheering for Sparty. So winner L, I will be happy because I picked Michigan, whatever. But
you sound like you hedging your bets, man. You say I haven't winning, but I will be going for Sparta. You know I'm messing with you, Terry.
Hey, but to me, man, I like Tucker. He's still 2-0, man. Whether what Michigan fans say, whatever, Tucker is still 2-0. Spartans believe they can win. That's all that matters. So as long as Peyton Thorne makes the big throws, Jaden Reed, I think, has a big chance to make his mark on this game. I think that they'll have a chance. But Corum and Edwards, I mean, I just think that tandem is really good when they come together. So I think Michigan, if it gets out of hand, I think if Michigan comes out the gates and just takes over, it's going to be a long night. But if Michigan State can keep it close, it could be one of those field goal games where they sneak and get one in. So, but the big one that I care about is the one that's the big noon game. The big noon game. So we saw Penn State. Everyone's saying Penn State is exposed. Penn State dominated Minnesota the week before. And a lot of that was a message sent to the college football world that we're not done. Our season is not written off because we laid an egg against Michigan. So to them, their defense is catered to play against Ohio State. They have lengthy guys, a lot of speed in the secondary that can try and keep up with Marvin Harrison. But I think Marvin Harrison is on a different world, a different planet as far as playing the wide receiver position. But I do think that them playing at home, they're a different team. Whatever you say, any team that plays Ohio State and it's a big game and a lot of implications, that team is going to show up ready to play more than any other team. Because Ohio State, to me, is still the face of the Big Ten. I don't care if Michigan won last year. Ohio State is the standard. Ohio State is the standard. They are the standard.
Barry, are you losing your journalistic bias right now?
No, think about it. Michigan literally.
How they the standard? They lost last year. How they the standard, Terry?
How you gonna lose and be the standard?
Look, just like Will Anderson said, you beat Alabama, you feel like you're on top of the world because you beat Bama. Bama is the standard in all of sports. Ohio State is the standard in the Big Ten. No way, like no question. You don't win 1 year after losing the last 10 and then feel like you're the standard. Michigan didn't even know their way to Indianapolis before last year.
They didn't know how to get there. They
didn't know how to get there.
I just want to say it's about language. When you say, I got a comment here. I want this comment directed towards you before they may be able to do it for me. Rah got on you. He said, "Young fella don't know." LOL. No, young fella be. He mad about it.
I know. The last couple of years, Michigan, no matter what, we can go back to the revenge tour with Chase Winovich, Sunshine, Pretty Boy. Thought they was gonna come. The #1 defense. We scored 62 on them. So I mean, we can go. JT wasn't short, by the way, in 2016. So, I mean, we can talk about all these different games. Ohio State is the standard in the Big Ten today. There's no reason why they're not. I mean, I don't know.
How about this? Terry? Let me make a slight adjustment. How about you say, oh, gosh, I got about to put on the next comment, which is right on time.
I'm
How
ready.
About you say Ohio State has been the standard. And you can't say it is the standard. Now, look at this. Look at this last name right here. I'm with you, TJ. That's Miss Kelly Hopper waiting to chime in.
And I'm going to tell you exactly why they're the standard.
Okay.
You want to know why? Because Ohio State is putting players in the NFL way more than the rest of the schools. And I don't say that because it's like a superiority thing. It's because Penn State is recruiting their defense like Ohio State to defend Ohio State, which is why they got they got their butts beat by Michigan, because that team is not made to play Michigan. That team is to play us. And I say us as the Ohio State. Right. Michigan labels their success. Mel Tucker is out here trying to get Sunday guys because he knows that every year he's going to play against a team that has guys that are going to be playing on Sunday. We are the standard. Every team circles us and they want to beat us because they know we're going to it's Indy National Championship, Indy playoffs, National Championship or bust every year.
Check this out, Orlando. This is a perfect transition because we're going to go from Saturday talk to Sunday talk. Shout out to Ron Charles. He said, hopefully in my NFL questions above, Terry make more sense. LOL. We're going to go to your question. But check this out, though, Orlando. I know Terry don't drink, but if I had to get into a bar fight, I'm taking him. I'm going to be like, hey, dog, they've been talking bad about Ohio State. Terry, I'm like, what? So with that being said, Terry, a perfect transition. Get to Ron. Ron, we appreciate you, man. You've been throwing a lot of questions out here. We appreciate your questions. This is for the NFL segment as we transition with the remaining time we have. For Terry, which teams win tonight? Rams or Buccaneers? 2, problem with Rodgers calling out teammate. 3, should Rodgers and Brady retire? And Jamar Chase out for 4 to 6 weeks with the hip. Now, hey, Ron, you're doing a great job, man. We need to have you up here as our additional talking head because your questions really will allow us to kind of finalize today's show. So how about I leave these questions up, Terry, and go from there. And Terry, you can touch on these and we can add on these, especially talking about the Rodgers Brady situation that's going on too. Like, you know what? And speaking of Rodgers Brady, I got a meme just for them. Y'all can relate to. Funny what 7 days can change. It was all good just a week ago. I mean, for both those guys, think about it. If both those guys retired last season, they will go out just on top.
That's it.
The sad part about this, man, is like the story of the boxer. It's like once you come back, you're trying to get it back, and it's hard, man. It's a tough way to go. They could have retired, and people could have argued and spoke on them. Oh, man, Aaron Rodgers could have come back and won another Super Bowl, Tom Brady, but we never know. But when we see this, man, this is sad. So with that, why don't you go through Ron's great questions for us, Terry?
Well, to answer this question, number one, which teams will win tonight? I mean, I have so Ravens are playing the Buccaneers tonight. I got Ravens. That Buccaneers team to me is not what I expected. I don't think Brady. I think Brady's starting to lose the amount of investment, the amount of focus he has on this year, just based off the production of everybody else. So I see the Ravens winning that one. Rodgers calling teammates out. And I'll group this in with number 3 because Brady's been kind of doing that as well, just not as direct as Rodgers can be. Rodgers has always been a jerk. I'll be honest. Rodgers always had that level. My thing is that MJ was a jerk too, but MJ won. Rodgers, I mean, you got one ring, but I do side with Rodgers a little bit more than Brady because Rodgers has dealt with an organization that I feel like has not necessarily built the team around him, mainly talking about defense here, to win a Super Bowl. Like their offense has been great, yes. But this year, when you lose a guy like Devontae Adams, which Rodgers knew coming in, he signed that contract. He said, yes, I signed it, knowing that Devontae Adams wasn't going to be here. But having a guy and losing an offensive guy, you have to know that you have to gear your defense better in order to handle some of that offensive, deflation. I mean, you're not going to be as explosive on offense. So I think Brady should retire. I think Rodgers still has a little bit more in him, only because I think Brady is able to like stop and still have a lot to say for. I think Rodgers is still playing for something because he's still trying to chase that next ring. And so I think Rodgers stays. I think Brady should be done just because I don't see much of anything good that's going to come out of Tampa Bay.
Let me pose this question to you. Have we seen the best football played by Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers?
I think we've seen it. We've seen it, in my opinion. I think Rodgers a couple years ago, he was just on another planet. I mean, I think his MVP years were great. And I think we've seen the best out of both of them. And a lot of that is just father time. And the last one with Jamar Chase, I'm actually sad that Jamar Chase is out for that long because the Buccaneers were just starting to find their stride and be able to put stuff together. So I think, them playing the Browns, that's my team. But our defensive lapses have been terrible. And I feel like Burrow is going to have a great game and be able to play really well despite Chase being out. I can't say so for the future weeks because this is just one game. But I think Burrow is starting to figure it out. Their play calling can get a little bit conservative, which might hurt them, with Chase being out and not having your number one guy in. But it does hurt to lose him. But I think Burrow is starting to find his stride with them. And once Chase comes back, it's going to be back to normal.
So Terry, going back to the Brady issue, you don't think that Giselle has anything to do with the current state of affairs?
Oh, 100%. I mean, how do you lose your girl and then play bad football? I mean, it's like 1-1. I mean,
it's always a connection.
I mean, your family is falling, and I like to say it's like your first thing that you focus on is family. If family's not looking good, it starts to spill into your profession, your whatever you're starting, like whatever you do for your career. And so I feel like Brady to leave, and then his wife, that they're about to hire the divorce lawyers to have that happen. And then play your worst ball, it has to be in his head because he's not going home to his family. He's not going home to his wife. It's like, it's definitely something you got to think about, but it makes me think, just like I said prior to the season, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I mean, you coming in, different coaches, different head coach, not all your guys are healthy. And it's like, is it worth losing your wife to come, and then now you're playing your worst ball you've played in a while? It's like, it sucks, man. It's two losses.
You got Antonio Brown trolling you with pictures.
That dude is he got one more comment for he start getting canceled for real.
And just to think though, to your point, Orlando, about Giselle and the family issues, I keep going back that if he would have just retired last year, we could only say how much greater he could have been. And I think this is that visual. And I'm not saying, the season isn't over with. We don't know. And, TB can do some miraculous stuff. He may end up having one of the best experiences ever. But I just think it's just a very good lesson of what's the line from American Gangster when he said, hey, sometimes quitting while you ahead ain't really quitting. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you really challenge it. Even with LeBron and this whole father time thing that's going on and what's happening with the Lakers as he's kind of going to his latter years is something to keep in mind. Terry McCoy Sr. says, what's up with Russell Wilson? What you guys say about Russell Wilson, TJ?
Russell, I mean, from the beginning, my friend Philip is a Broncos fan. So I've been trolling Russ a lot this whole year because he's been in my ear talking about Broncos are back and all this. And since they lost Monday Night Football, it's never been the same. I mean, Russ just doesn't have the trust of his teammates. And the things that have made Russ different than everyone is his athleticism, his leadership, his ability to get everyone to buy into the system and the team. Those were the three things that just made Russ so much better than everyone, because he just had that feel to him. Like, he immediately takes over the room. And so I think with Russ, I think right now he doesn't have that. I mean, players aren't buying in. You could just see it. I mean, Melvin Gordon is kind of asking for a trade, but not really. But it's just like everyone is kind of falling out, and it doesn't look like the typical leadership that you see out of Russ. And a lot of that does have to do with his play. Guys just don't trust him. And you paid him so much money, and he hasn't done anything yet.
Let me ask you this, and I heard this. I may have caught this on a blog or something. Someone said, did the Legion of Boom, Russell, Richard Sherman and company, did they really cover and compensate for Russell Wilson? And now we're seeing, without him having such a devastating defense that can just shift the whole perspective. And then I even go as far as that, that 12th man in Seattle, like the dynamics that changed, that now he done got himself out there and he's a little bit more exposed to what's going on. And we can group him with I almost said Giselle. We group him with Tom Brady, and also group him with Aaron Rodgers, that is like out with the old, in with the new. I appreciate that, Terry. You said, yep, Lindsay. I mean, there's so many things that we can't assume that these guys can just pick up from their heyday and easily transition into success, especially the type of success that's expected from these guys. We're talking about megastar success, especially when there's a big ticket that goes with it.
And one more thing, too, the fact that Russ didn't want to be there in Seattle to see Geno Smith do what he's done with the same team that was there. It's
Hold
like,
on, Kelly.
It's like,
Kelly, you on tonight. She said, y'all better not play Sierra. Hey, somebody put a meme up and said the way this season going, Sierra going to be back with Future.
It's just one of those things to see Geno Smith do what he's done, where Russ was, basically same receivers, same head coach. It's like, was Russ the issue there? I mean, there have been talks about Russ holding the ball too long. Russ has gotten hit over the course of the years. A lot of that might be because he holds the ball too long, and his line was just flat out terrible. Didn't really have a running game. So I think all that stuff mixed together, I think Russ is still figuring it out, but you could just see that his athleticism isn't where it used to be, and it could be the wear and tear on his body, just taking all those hits.
That's the other thing too, man. It's not going to keep rolling like that going forward. Well, Orlando, unless you have anything to add, man, we're going to kind of, bring this home right now. Anything you want to touch on with that?
Let's bring it home. One thing about he secured the bag, so
I must say, hey, we can say what we want, but he's going home comfortable.
And I can see one thing. You better not be blaming Sierra. Well, look, there were some great highlights. I want to thank our guest today, man, Chaz Lewless, man. I'm going to make sure that segment is out and circulates separately so people can really see him. And I want to give him the inch for saying he has the highlight. But, the highlight for me today is the visual that I have right now of going into a bar fight with Terry McCord and saying, hey, man, them boys over there talking about the Buckeyes. And Terry like, what? Who? Hold me back. That's the highlight. But I want to thank you guys for making yourselves available. I want to thank all the people who made comments, everyone who's checking in with us. We had some very substantive things to talk about. I appreciate that. And thank you all being great hosts to our guests that came on as well. So with that being said, it's Mr. Orlando Watkins representing the St. Cecilia. You can't get no better than that. Yeah. Terry McCord Jr., the future of the funk, and myself, Lindsay Huddleston with SPS. We'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you. Peace.